This church was built in 1959, the same year I was born. Now, they didn't build it for me, but they did build it for a lot of new families that were moving into the neighborhood around here, and a lot of families with children. And I happened to be in one of those families. When I was 10 years old, in 4th grade, over here at St. George School, I didn't have a lot to brag about. The other kids in my class, well, they had things to brag about. I remember some of the kids had Batman lunchboxes and walkie-talkies, bicycles, and they would tell about all the shows they watched on TV. Not me. All I had to brag about was 7 brothers, 2 sisters on back order, and nobody really brags about their brothers, but brothers are kind of a mixed bag. They're good for a joke and a laugh and a punch and a headlock. And just about the time they got you wrapped in a headlock and are grinding your forehead into the shag rug on the den floor, you're thinking, I don't know if it's so great to have all these brothers. But it was a good life, I suppose. I never wore hand-me-downs. I wore 3rd-me-downs and 4th-me-downs. I always got to carry my lunch to school, and I knew it was going to be one of 3 things: tuna fish, peanut butter and jelly, or bologna. I remember seeing my mother at the butcher one day, and she said, Mrs. Lorei, how would you like it sliced? She says, thin. You slice a piece. She goes, how's that? She'd say, thinner. Slice it again. Hold it up. How's that? She'd hold her fingers up. She could see her fingers through the bologna on the other side. She goes, that's good, Mickey. I'll take a pound. We got to drink pop twice a year, Christmas and 4th of July when we had a party. We got to eat out at a restaurant once a year, McDonald's, 10-cent burger night. My dad would pack us up in the Chrysler Town and Country wagon. We'd pile in. He'd throw down $3 on the counter. I'd see the manager's face blanch, and he'd order 30 burgers, and he'd say, that's just a start. Christmas was coming that year, and I was really looking forward to it. All the other kids, every year after Christmas at school, they'd brag about what they got. And they'd brag about their, get a double-wide Batman lunchbox. And remember this one kid got this dragon that kind of motored along the ground and shot these red balls, and his eyes glowed red with fire. And I thought, wow. And another kid, I know he got a trip to Florida, and another kid got a bicycle. And the kids would ask me sooner or later, well, what'd you get? And I'd say, well, I got socks and a coloring book and a roll-up sled. They go, oh, that's nice. And but this year I knew what I wanted. I'd seen an ad on TV, and it was an ad for a game, and the game was called Green Ghost. It was a board game. It wasn't any board game. It was a board game that you played in the dark. And it had an elevated board and little holes around the board game table. And as you move the players around, the little ghost players would fall down through the holes and be lost forever. And I thought, wow, if I had Green Ghost, what that would be like. My mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I always knew that I didn't have it figured out. There was some sort of alliance between Mom and Santa, but I hadn't figured it out yet. And she said, what'd you want? I said, I want Green Ghost. So we took out the Sears catalog. If you remember, the Sears catalog was about this thick and had every toy possible. And we opened to the page, and there was Green Ghost. And she looked at it. Most board games were $5. The expensive ones were $10. Green Ghost was $12. My mom said, we'll see. Well, we'll see meant, don't bet on it, Buster. So Santa, it seems like the Loreis, was always on a budget. But that didn't stop me from dreaming about Green Ghost. And I just thought about playing that game, and I thought, gosh, that'd be so much fun. And I could go into school right when after this Christmas break, and I could brag to all, what'd you get for Christmas? Well, I got Green Ghost. And I thought, my brothers, we'd play Green Ghost. We wouldn't be fighting anymore. It would just be fun, be happy. That would just lift me up and out of the world, and life would be so grand. Well, Christmas came around, and our family went to midnight mass. And I remember coming into midnight mass before Christmas, and we came in the back door, and the entire church on this side was filled. All the seats behind the pillars, the seats along the sides of the walls. We made our way around the side of the church, and we came over here to the Peach Street side, filled, completely filled. We made our way all the way around the church, and we looked, and the choir section was filled. All that was left was a few chairs over here by the crucifix and the creche. Jesus' beginning and end of his earthly life. And we sat down there, and you get to see your parish in a whole different way. And I see all the people with their long coats and their jackets and ties, and the ladies dressed up so nice, and the incense and the poinsettias and the beautiful candles. And there's something really magnificent about midnight mass in the darkness, and the stained glass is so dark. But you know what? I got to tell you, what I was thinking about was I couldn't wait for Christmas to come. So I was just devising ways in my head to speed the mass up. I thought, they could sing a few less verses of that song, and maybe they could cut out a couple of those readings, and Father could shorten up the homily a little bit. And then I was thinking, the big thing I thought, if you really wanted to save time at Mass, you could really speed up communion. And there was this one little toy shooter that they used to sell years ago that shot these little plastic discs about the size of a quarter. And I thought, if Father would just fill that little shooter with the communion wafers and say, body of Christ, and everybody said amen and held their mouth up and go, ping, 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 ping. But I didn't share that with anybody at the time. So we went home, couldn't sleep. Christmas morning, I got up. And when you get up Christmas morning and you come down to the tree, and there's all those beautiful lights around the tree, and you see the snow outside and it's still dark, and you smell the beautiful smell of fresh cut pine tree, and the presents are there, and you look at them, and it's that magical moment of Christmas, which is the most magical moment of all, because those presents can be anything that you want them to be. And I remember that moment, and all us boys waiting there until my parents gave us a sign. And I don't know whether they shot a shotgun off or something, but all of us they said, go. And we descended on those presents and ripped them open like jackals on a fresh antelope. And there was paper and wrappings and ribbons just flying. And when the dust finally settled, I got a pair of socks, a coloring book, a pair of underwear, a rolled up sled, and a GAF Viewmaster. Had a pretty good story with a dinosaur chasing a guy. But I didn't get Green Ghost. But I'd been disappointed before, and I looked around and I looked at what some of my brothers got, and one of them got the game Operation, somebody else got Lincoln Logs, another one got a Boomerang, and somebody else got an Erector set. And so I could sort of, enjoy what they got, and just, one more a little bit disappointing. I didn't have anything to brag about that year. So, but I thought, there is a consolation in Christmas. There's a lot of great cookies, and I could drown my sorrows in some cherry pop. So, with a big family, you've got a lot of kids, and so there's a lot of godparents. And so with the godparents, one year we would go over to our godparents' house, and the next year at Christmas season, they would come to our house. Well, the nieces were my godparents, and the nieces came over that year, and a couple days after Christmas, wasn't thinking anything about it. And my godparents pop in the door, and then one of the niece kids pops in the door and puts a present in my hand. And I look at the present, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's the right size. It's the right weight. And I'd shake it. It had the right sound. But you know, it's a danger about opening something, because then it becomes what it really is. But I'm looking at it and I'm just hoping, please God, green ghost. And I tore open the wrapper bit by bit, and I saw the green and black letters. It was green ghost, green ghost. And I went tearing around the house 13 times, just screaming, green ghost. It was beside myself. I couldn't be happier. Look at this. And I figured everybody would want to play. And the adults were so busy doing what they wanted to do, and my older brothers were busy with their presents. And finally I corralled a couple of my younger brothers and one of the niece kids to come in the den. I said, let's play green ghost. This is going to be so cool. So I turn off the lights in the den, but of course it's the middle of the day and there's windows in the den, so the whole glow-in-the-dark thing didn't work, besides not having all the ghosts charged up as it was. But we did manage to get the elevated board set up, and I was so anxious I didn't read the directions. So I'm trying to figure this out, and there was kind of a lull in the action. And I remember one of my brothers goes, I gotta go. And he just took off, and then my next brother took off, and then it was just me staring at one of the niece kids, looking at each other and thinking, this ain't gonna work. So I said, well, I think we'll just have to play another time. So I packed up my game, put it under the bed, and I was a sense of disappointment. Just thought, the players were smaller than I expected, and it just, once you really had it, it just really wasn't as fun as I was sure it was gonna be, and I felt kind of hollowed out. And I thought, I don't have anything to brag about to the kids back at school. I mean, the only thing that I have to brag about is 7 brothers, 2 sisters on back order, a mother and father that love me, godparents that were very generous, and a little child in a little manger a long time ago, who proved that for Christmas, it's not what you get, but what you give. Thank you.